My friends, do you remember this video coming out of Pokrovsk where it was really foggy a week ago and Russians used it to advance towards the city, taking into advantage that Ukrainians cannot use the drones when the fog is this thick? Everybody saw it, everybody panicked. Wow, there's hundreds of Russian troops in Pokrovsk now. Well, I'm here to tell you what happened to these troops, what's the outcome of this video, because we haven't really found out yet. Well, you're about to. Here is the map where they entered the highway connecting to Pokrovsk from southeast. You can see the troops entering under heavy, thick coverage of fog, but only a few hours later we get a video from the Ukrainians following up what happened to these troops. Their motorcycles were abandoned, that means they hid, and I'm gonna go into where the troops went. But their motorcycles were eliminated, one by one. You can see it on the screen right now. Nothing left of them. And here, if you listen closely, here's another one. You can hear a woman's voice in a command point somewhere near Pokrovsk. I'm just always glad to see that. There's a big number of women fighting for the Ukrainian cause. Here's the third one, burned with gasoline. The fourth one is burning. The fifth one is standing. Well, it's standing, but it's already done. That's the sixth one, destroyed a few hours later. You might have a question. How did the Ukrainians discover them so fast? It was foggy. Their recon drones couldn't see. Well, the answer is more simple than you would think, because this is a video of Russians advancing into Pokrovsk in a fog, a video posted by one of the Russian fighters in a Russian Telegram chat. Well, from a video you can geolocate the location. From that geolocation you can get the coordinates, relay them to the Ukrainian artillery crews, and the rest is history. Before the drones came in the video we just watched, artillery hit them to pieces. I'll read it to you from a Russian Telegram chatter. Have you all seen the famous video with the entrance to Pokrovsk? And to endure the point. Because of that effort, who took it and leaked it to the network today, in this area there is a mountain of 200s and burned equipment. So 200s deceased KIAs, sleeping with the fishes as they say. They leaked it, Ukrainians got the coordinates, sent in the artillery, and later when the fog subsided they also sent in the drones. So this stunt for the Russians ended really badly. Hey, it's not the first time this happens. I bring to you a story now from January 2023, so over 2 years ago, but this was big. This is a Russian soldier posting a photo in his VK, it's like Russian Facebook or something, in Rehi, Kherson Oblast, with a member of the GRU's 10th Spetsnaz Brigade. He forgot to turn off the location tagging, and look at this proud Russian fighter posing in front of where they're all staying in occupied Kherson area. In detail, this is the Grand Prix Country Club in Rehi, and they were staying there enjoying their stay until this dude posted these photos with the location. Ukrainians got the coordinates, and this is the aftermath. A few hours later, everything is gone, and if you can see from the destruction, this was no few small drones. I'm guessing this was a Storm Shadow, because in 23 they were used in much bigger numbers than now. And it's gotta hurt that this still happens in the Russian army, especially in the entrance to Pokrovsk, where hundreds of Russian troops are going daily. Majority of people following the situation might think that Ukrainians are about to be surrounded in Pokrovsk. This is what Gerasimov reported personally to Putin about 3 weeks ago. Well, now I bring to you a quote from the Ukrainian Chief of Staff of the Army, General Alexander Syrsky. Our main task remains the gradual takeover of designated areas, the maintenance and protection of existing logistical routes, as well as the organization of additional ones, to ensure the timely supply of everything our defenders need and the uninterrupted evacuation of the wounded. By this quote, you can already tell that Syrsky has no plan of pulling back from Pokrovsk, and the Russians have still not surrounded it. Now I want to show you exactly what Syrsky means. This happens in the northern of Pokrovsk, where 2 Russian soldiers have been able to hide in the ruins, and now a Ukrainian team is sent to hunt them down. It's the 425th Special Purpose Regiment, and they're sent in guided by the drones, the recon drones up in the sky. You can see the Ukrainian fighters on the screen. They have a direct communication with the command point who have a drone up in the sky. So they're pretty much getting instructions. Where to go, left, right, front, where the guys are, what to do. In this video we can see them chasing them. The Russians run to the next building. The three operators run behind them, throw grenades, throw anti-tank mines into the building. Russians again get away until the Ukrainian fighters smoke them out of a building. The Russians are in plain sight, and then the command point sends 2 FPVs against them, neutralizing them, making them sleep with the fishes. That's how these neutralizing missions work that Syrsky was talking about. And this happened in northern Pokrovsk, which by the maps is controlled by Ukrainians. But I've mentioned it many times before, Pokrovsk doesn't have a generalized front line. One small infiltration group can go to the northern Pokrovsk behind Ukrainian lines, and Ukrainian 425th troops can go behind the Russian lines to the southern Pokrovsk. That's how it works. It's very fluid there. By the way, the main issue for the Ukrainian army is the lack of infantry. They have not mobilized 25-year-olds and below. So by the law in Ukraine, you cannot forcefully mobilize a 23-year-old into the army. They rely on a volunteer system. Russians also rely on a volunteer system, but they have a lot of money. They're paying massive amounts of money, even to the Western standards of one-time payments to everyone who joins the army. They're recruiting 30,000 troops per month. How can they afford it? Well, here's your answer. This is the Russian government bond issuance chart. You can see that in 2025, well, when Ukraine started attacking the oil refineries and they're not pulling in so much money from there, they started issuing massive amounts of bonds and forcing banks and companies to buy them. In fact, 600% increase in issuance of bonds from the Russian government. This is where they get their money right now. But it's a very slippery road. My friends, the more I cover the Ukrainian fight for freedom and the more I contemplate my own responsibility of defending my home when the time comes, the more I appreciate things that are practical. My wallet, for example. I use it daily. It needs to be fast, slim, practical, and stylish. This is why I use Ekster. Where its practicality lies is that Ekster is half the size of a conventional wallet but carries over 12 cards and cash. I can access all my cards at the click of a button with a signature trigger mechanism. It just works and it looks cool. Do you know what this is? You wouldn't even notice it. It is so slim. But this is a Finder card and I never had anything like it before. It is a revolution in item tracking. Finder card is an ultra-slim, rechargeable tracking device that will make your belongings impossible to lose. It's credit card sized and trackable globally with the Apple Find My app. Just use your phone to ring your stuff or see where you last had it on the map. By the way, Ekster also has a travel bag, vacuum kit. I just used it when I was called for a short 4-day training with my military unit. With the portable air pump, I tripled my packing space by compressing my clothes. This really came in handy since space was very limited. Ekster's Black Friday sale is live. Click the link in the description below to get up to 50% off, plus an extra 10% off at checkout with my code Artur10. That's up to 60% off in total. Thank you, Ekster, for making my life more practical and easier. My friends, a Russian startup presented their AI robot. You might think Boston Dynamics, these crazy robots who can do backflips and everything. Well, Russians also have something like that. We're gonna watch the video. This robot is called Idol, and that is their public first presentation of... I cannot keep a serious face. They really wanted to make him very Russian because he's walking like a regular Russian drunkard on the street, you know, sleeping off his 3 liters of vodka he just had yesterday. This is the way they walk, actually, the Russian drunkards. And the robot behaves exactly like one. Check it out. Because he falls to the face ground, to the... I mean, this is supposed to be one of those Elon Musk styled presentations. They bring out a fancy tech, everybody sees it, it blows up, everybody gives them money. But if it looks like Russian, walks like a Russian and falls down like a Russian, I don't know if anybody's gonna give you money. Now they're gonna pull this black tarp in front to hide it, but they cannot even do that correctly. I mean, they mix it up wrong way, and yeah. That's the fiasco of Russian AI robots. Okay, this popped up. I don't know who did this, but this is gold. Pure gold. This fiasco was so big that Solovyov, the biggest Russian propagandist, took it up on himself to wreak havoc on these dudes. I gotta share this 1 minute with you. I'm in a state of mild rage. Yesterday, from some reason, there was a presentation of a humanoid robot in our country. By the way, the fact that I'm in a state of mild rage, that can become a logo on a shirt. I always feel like that. And yet we have already robots like this before. We showed them off. There was the robot Fedor. It did something. Just explain, what are you doing, huh? What on earth are you doing? Why? The company was set up recently, so they took it, showed it off. Look at us, isn't this great? Money was allocated. I can't swear here, but it's a huge amount of money, so it's clear to everyone. They bring on stage to music the Russian idol man. Idol. Two young guys walk with it and it falls. They pick it up to the music and lead it off. 3 guys. Was this a film about how to steal state or private money? What was it all about? Solovyov asks all the right questions in this clip, at least, because he's probing the truth. It was a stunt about how to steal investors' money and the state money. And this is all, I mean, they probably took the money. It's like millions that was invested in this company. They made this drunk little robot and took the rest of the money, and they're in Bahamas or something. Now, my friends, let's talk about the Ukrainian fight against corruption. Almost a week ago, a massive scandal rocked Ukraine and the world, the Western world who are supporting Ukraine. We found out that there was a scheme to steal money from the biggest state-owned energy company. The scheme was run by Zelensky's ally or acquaintance and a co-owner of Zelensky's Kvartal 95 media company. Now, we cannot claim that Zelensky was in on it or if he is in on it, but I will give you all the information I have as of now. Yesterday, Zelensky called for the dismissal of 2 ministers, 2 running cabinet ministers, the Justice Minister of Herman Halushenko and the Energy Minister of Svetlana Krinchuk. They resigned shortly after the 12th of November. Ukrainian authorities said this week that they had detained 5 people and identified 2 others still at large, one of them being the leader of the scheme, Mindich, who has fled the country. Ukrainian Anti-Corruption Bureau NABU's investigators suspect Justice Minister Halushenko helped Mindich manage illicit financial flows at the energy sector, while contractors working with Energoatom were forced to pay bribes up to 10 to 15% to avoid losing contracts. This amounts to up to $100 million. By the way, yesterday, Zelensky signed sanctions into effect against Mindich, who has fled the country. They're freezing his bank accounts, they're freezing his assets, he's now a fugitive. I mean, Zelensky is getting on it. He also praises the work of NABU and encourages everybody to cooperate with them. And today, NABU ordered the audits into all of the bigger state-owned companies to check if there's any more of such similar schemes there. As I mentioned previously, Ukrainian population are furious. They are, because Russian attacks wreak havoc on Kyiv and Kharkiv and biggest Ukrainian cities, and there are blackouts, daily blackouts, and there are pauses when heating doesn't work. There are kids who cannot get hot meals, who cannot sleep, who have to sleep in the cold. These are parents of these kids seeing that their own government, ministers, have been stealing the money that could have been allocated to defend these power plants, thermal power plants that make their homes warm and light. I gotta bring you a quote from an ex-Azov chief of staff, Bogdan Krodevich. As long as Halushenko and Chernyshov are not held truly accountable, serving time in prison without the right of bail, All statements about finding and punishing look like ordinary populism. The absence of real changes in the office of the president, among the army leadership and the general staff, directly threatens the state's sovereignty. So he calls for a harsh punishment for everybody who is accountable, and I would say majority of the Ukrainian population agrees. This is not something you can push under the rug. This will get bigger and bigger. As I mentioned, NABU ordered the investigation of all bigger state-owned companies, audits into these companies, so if there's any schemes there similar to this one, they will be discovered. This is all the information I have on this for now. Main thing you need to know that this is not being quieted down. Everybody's talking about it. The spotlights are on this event, so nobody can escape justice. Nobody can push it under the rug. I'll keep you posted on it in the next video. But now, my friends, I gotta bring you an interesting video from the Russian army of how they punish men who refuse to go on meat assaults, men who refuse to die for the Russian Empire. Check it out. Commander, call sign Lotus. Deputy Commander, call sign Clover. Deputy Company Commander Butcher and Company Commander Poet. They buried me in a pit. For refusing to go and die on a combat mission. For a stupid mission where I could have died. They put me in a pit. Yeah, I mean, you can leave it up to the Russians to be very creative, to motivate their troops to go and fight for the empire that is crumbling, that is empty and hollow inside. For example, they put a guy in a sand pit. I don't know how long they're gonna leave him there. I guess some bystanders are gonna get him out. But somebody said that this is very memeable, dude. It is. Enter any kind of text here, it works perfectly. Now, my friends, we'll jump to the front lines, and I'll begin from north, and I'll be going through Donetsk and down to the south of Zaporizhia. From north, talking about Kupiansk, of course, because Kupiansk, like Pokrovsk, is one of the most heaviest frontal areas right now. In this direction, we can see one of these small Russian infiltration groups, and things did not go as planned for them. They infiltrated, but they got hit, and now they gotta exfiltrate. I don't know if that's the thing you say, but with a garden trolley. I don't know which kind of trolley even is it. But I've been talking about the new Russian strategy, which is infiltrate and hide. Groups up to 3 to 4 men, no bigger. They try to get past the Ukrainian drone wall, they infiltrate into some abandoned buildings or ruins, and they hide there, sometimes for weeks, waiting for other groups to join them. And when, like in Pokrovsk, there's a mass of them, of a few hundred, they come out and they start taking over some areas or threatening Ukrainian drone crews. That's their new tactic. And I'm not here to say it doesn't work. It does work, if you can pay the price of the losses. Now, this next video comes from Konstantinivka, a little bit north of Pokrovsk in Donetsk Oblast. Russians here also try to use the fog to push in more troops, more equipment, some MLRS and even some trucks, as you can see on the video. The thing with that is, as soon as the fog subsides, which it does, it's feast for the Ukrainian drones, which we can see here. They are hunting down everything they didn't see a few hours before because it was foggy. In a way, fog even benefits the Ukrainians because it brings a mass of Russian equipment and troops to the kill zone of the drones. Now, my friends, let's go to the southern Ukraine, specifically Zaporizhia front, and I want to show you, I've showed it to you many times, but I want to keep talking about this because it needs to be acknowledged. You can see the Russian advancement towards Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, towards the city of Dnipro, which is of course very far away, but Russians are advancing here and Ukraine does not have any answer to this. For example, I'm zooming into the settlement of Rivnapilia, which was actually occupied yesterday. This settlement was just taken, Ukrainians pulled back, and they are pulling back because there's no defensive lines here. Nothing. Ukrainians haven't built them out. This is another kind of questions. Why? Why haven't they built them out? It ties into the corruption scandal, and there are similar scandals in the defense ministry. Also, almost 4 years of this war, there should be defensive lines everywhere. But in some areas, they haven't even started building them. These are questions we cannot avoid anymore, because if we do, Ukrainians pay with their lives. This is it for today, my friends. If you want to hear news the way I delivered it to you today, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back for you every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Until then, bye-bye.